Cough drop number one. Since we're at the David Shai-Hess, let me go ahead and transition and talk about the mixed-use development that will be right outside the doors to the north of this facility, for starters, and then future growth. You may have heard this quite a bit. I will tell you, if you think you've heard about this for a long time, I've been working on this for a much longer period of time than that. But I am excited to say, I'm pretty confident that we can anticipate seeing in the second quarter of this year, you're going to see some dirt start to be moved. You're going to see some utility lines start to get run. And this downtown Heath, Central Park, downtown project is going to begin. Now, if you can see on the board here, I'll say phase 1A of this project, you're right here, right now, at the David Shai-Hess. Phase 1A is going to take Central Parkway from where it dead ends, jog a bit to the north, come into this first roundabout, two stubs, north and south. A boulevard that will have diagonal parking in the middle will come through to this western roundabout, stub 1, stub 2. Wallach is the company that is developing this piece of the project. So for phase 1A, Wallach is going to construct 2 buildings on either side of the boulevard. First floor of those buildings will have approximately 10,000 square feet of retail, commercial, office, restaurant type space, 40,000 square feet total between the 4 structures. And then each structure will have 3 floors of apartments above them. Those will sit astride the boulevard, which the city, for any number of different festivals and events, we will be able to close the boulevard down. And traffic will be able to flow around it. We'll be able to close that boulevard down for city events. We'll look to establish a DORA in that area so that people can get a drink here, go to this shop there, that type of thing. Wallach, as part of this phase 1A, will construct the apartments and clubhouse structures that are going to be in this area. Phase 1B will include Wallach constructing an assisted living facility here up against the residential neighborhood. We always felt that that was probably the quietest thing that you could have next to a residential neighborhood. There will not be a road connection into this neighborhood. So traffic will not flow here, but we're working with the Indian Mound Mall ownership, and we will establish a right of way through here where traffic then will be able to flow through here toward 30th Street. Also, as part of phase 1B, this area over here, all of this area over here, these are, our concept is a ranch on slab rental type of a unit. It attracts quite a few empty nesters. This is going to be a very walkable, bikeable. You see Geller Park up here, which already exists. This lane through here will become city property, part of a park area. This area in here will become city property, potentially a new city hall. Park features potentially a new police station. So there's a lot of options, and there's going to be a lot of reasons for people to want to be here, and we're going to make it easy for them to walk and bike through the area. This is a ranch on slab. Natalie, someday, if Emily ever lets us move out of our house, we may want to choose to live there, right? Back in here.
We'll be buried in our backyard.
What?
We'd be buried in our backyard. That's where she wants to put it.
Yeah, I know.
Really awkward.
Back in this area here, our concept calls for townhouses as well as single-family homes. Back in here. Those pieces I'll label Phase 1B. And then this area down here, although it shows stuff, there really is no concept. There's nothing solid, down in this area, which is fine for now. But we're excited about the possibilities that this could hold. So this is, as you might imagine, quite a big development. It's going to take many years for it to build out, right? The development stork doesn't just drop 500, homes in an area at one time. That's just not the way things work. So this will evolve over years and be built out, over many years. But this concept is a realization of what has been a City of Heath dream for decades. I can tell you, when I first became mayor 15 years ago, there were sketches on the walls, in a cabinet on the wall of the City Council caucus room that was done probably a decade before then, that had ideas for back here. This area has always been thought of a place where a downtown Heath could be, where our community could have a center to come together for any number of different reasons. And so we're really excited as a city to be part of the public-private partnership that has made this concept, again, you're going to see here soon, it's going to start to become a reality. Now, along with that, you'll see our concept calls for, eventually, Central Parkway to come through here, drop down, and run out to the west. So that'll segue for me into the next topic that I wanted to talk about. The Licking County Airport has been established here for a number of years. And the length of the runway is about 4,600 feet, okay? Which, if you drive through this area, or I saw Jim Roberts here, I think. If you're Jim Roberts and live in the flight path, you know that this runway is utilized not just by single engine, single prop aircraft, but also we are seeing an increasing number of corporate jets dropping in and out of our area utilizing this runway. Now, that's a great thing for the airport. Its increased usage is helpful. And I can tell you, when Bear Paint which would be located like maybe down here off of James Parkway. When Bear Paint was in the process of evaluating their site at the Central Ohio Technology and Aerospace Center, when they were evaluating the site, when they were going through construction, when they were opening, their executives, I can also see jets from my neighborhood sometimes when they're on approach from the east. I grew to recognize their jet. They were here that frequently. So the corporate use of this runway is increasing as well. There's an opportunity for our community and the airport to work together to mutual benefit to help get Central Parkway out across a new rail crossing, connecting to where Central Parkway West was constructed as part of the Owens Corning warehouse project a few years ago. Central Parkway West connects to Thornwood Drive. As the development happens, it's important that this become the gateway to our community from the west. I have been working with the new property owner that owns these parcels here, with the railroad. There are conversations with Ashland Oil and conversations with the airport for us all to come together and be a big group of we, as I say, who will advocate for a rerouting of Irvingwick that would then come up the very western part of the airport property, connect with Central Parkway here. We would close our rail crossing at Irvingwick, come across here to a new rail crossing, and then go across. Obviously, for the city, it provides an avenue, a way, getting Central Parkway out to the west. For the airport, the impact probably is going to be equally strong. Doing this would provide the airport with an opportunity to extend their runway to just shy of 5,000 feet. Now that's a key number. When a runway is more than 5,000 feet, it can be reclassified for a higher use. The problem is, if you didn't notice them when you came in, you'll notice them when you drive out of here. There are hills to the east of us that would impact the cone of airspace clearance that would be needed to reclassify the runway. So the runway would not be more than 5,000 feet, but if they could get to just shy of 5,000 feet, for insurance purposes of the planes and the jets that come in here all the time, it would be beneficial. It would also increase the number of inclement weather days that those aircraft could still utilize this runway, because they would have roughly another 350 feet of runway in which to work. The airport has long wanted to get this runway extended. Part of this will give them the elbow room to do that, and they will end up with more distance between the rerouted Irvingwick than what they have today with the shorter runway and where Irvingwick is today. So they can extend the runway and get a little more elbow room a little more distance from the traffic that's to the west of the runway. Here's the other big benefit for the airport. They have built an increasing number of hangars on their property. They tell me their hangar space is very, very limited. But there really isn't a whole lot more area on which to build hangars on the south side of the runway. We've got all this to the north of the runway. If we can get Central Parkway through, they now have access to that land on the north side of the runway. They could begin to build hangars if they need, and we, of course, can ensure that they would have street road access to those hangars. Not only would the airport have the ability to expand their runway, they would also get additional land to utilize for additional hangar space, which should, it seems the reason, would continue to increase the usage of the county airport itself. So, we have engaged with the airport. I will continue to do so. I know they have a rescheduled board meeting that starts at 4:30 this evening, and I will be there to continue to work with them in an effort to make generally what you see here happen. This is just the same concept, but showing the road potentially going a little farther to the north. If the airport would want to acquire some ground here, if they, for some reason, wanted to put, hangars a little farther distanced from the runway. Other than that, it's the same concept. Now, I mentioned Central Parkway being rerouted, eventually connecting with Thornwood. I'm just checking the time. Want to be good, you folks. That's a good segue for what I want to talk about next, which is the Microsoft data center project that is in the city of Heath. This is from their submittals to the city showing their site plan. Now, this is Thornwood Drive. So this property sits on the west side of Thornwood Drive. This is Lee's Road right here. This is railroad tracks right here. So that kind of orients you to where this property's at. Their concept, their layout for the site calls for the construction of an electric substation and up to 5 250,000 square feet each data center buildings. Now, their concept here is similar to what their concept is for the land that they acquired in the Hebron area. I want to say maybe they can fit 6 buildings on that site. I'm not 100% sure because I'm not, involved in that, but I think I've heard that. Now, this also, the data center store does not drop 5 buildings onto the site at once. So you're talking about these buildings, then these buildings, all told, perhaps an 8 to 10 year build out of the site. But there's 2 very important agreements that the city and Microsoft entered into that I want to mention. And I'll tell you the story about the first. The first is a payment in lieu of taxes agreement between Microsoft and the city. So, about a year ago now was the first time that I sat down with the tax team from Microsoft. And this land was included in the city's pre-1994 community reinvestment area for the city. A pre-1994 CRA is like the gold standard of property tax incentives, particularly for manufacturing. Our community over the years have benefited greatly from our pre-1994 CRA. Over the last 15 years, if you look at all the buildings that have been built along Kaiser Drive, James Parkway, Thornwood, the ones that are there, the ones that are coming, the pre-1994 CRA has been huge in helping to bring those manufacturers, those jobs to our community. This isn't a pre-1994 CRA. Now for manufacturing, that means that the owner has a 100% property tax abatement on the improvements that they make to the land for a 15-year period of time. And they work this way. When this building gets done, the 15-year clock starts. Let's say it takes another 2 years to build this one. They'll apply for another CRA, that 15-year clock starts, and so on and so forth. So I'm sitting down with their tax guys, and the one guy says, explain, how the city CRA works. And I've, of course, explained this before, meeting with manufacturing prospects in our community. And I said, look, it's a piece of cake. It's already established. You automatically get it. There's no negotiating anything. You fill out 1/2 of one sheet of paper, and you turn it in, and it's done. The guy looks at me, he says, wow, okay, can we do something else? And for a split second, I'm thinking to myself, what in the world else could you want? Other than 100% abatement for 15 years on the improvements that you're going to make. But it was for only a split second, because to his credit, he quickly said afterward, because we don't want to be seen in the community as a taker. So we want to pay. And I picked my jaw up off the table, because I never heard that before. And I said, well, okay, then we're probably talking about a payment in lieu of taxes agreement, a pilot. They get the abatement, but they have agreed to pay to the city of Heath 100% of what they would have paid to the city of Heath had there not been an abatement on this property at all. Now, I had a meeting last week with superintendent of the Lakewood School District to update him on any number of different development things happening in Heath that impact Lakewood, and this was included. Now, I'm not privy to their situation, but I'm fairly sure that Microsoft will also not want to be seen as a taker as it relates to the Lakewood School District in which this ground sits. And I'll leave it at that. Which, again, it's wonderful that Microsoft is partnering in our community in that effort. Cough drop number 2. Here's the other agreement that I want to sort of mention. We have an agreement with them that is an infrastructure projects agreement. Microsoft was very willing to understand what kind of infrastructure improvement needs their project may bring to the community, and to be a partner in helping to make those infrastructure improvements happen. So, I showed you the southern part of their property, which is Lee's Road. Lee's Road is going to be used by them for construction. We said Lee's Road today cannot handle that. So Microsoft has agreed to have the city do a project that will widen Lee's Road to the city limit, which is the western part of their site on Lee's Road. We will also run a water line and a sewer line to those points, which Microsoft's project will utilize. The sewer line, which will help them avoid having to install a lift station on their property, and a water line which will provide them a dual redundant feed to them. Estimated cost today, $7.75 million, a little north of that, for the entirety of that project. Microsoft's paying for it. The engineering for a Licking County Transportation Improvement District project, which is the continuing improvement of the Thornwood corridor. So this is Thornwood Drive, improving it from Lee's Road south all the way down to Ridgely Tract. The city's portion of engineering is anticipated to be this. Microsoft's covering it. This is an ODOT project, the improvement of Thornwood Drive from Irvingwick West down to Lee's Road. This is an ODOT project. You're going to start seeing work on this begin here in 2025. And the improvements that I'm talking about on Thornwood will be consistent with what you see the improvements that have been done today. If you take a look at that section of Thornwood Drive along the railroad tracks, either side, the lanes are a little wider, a little more of a paved shoulder off the white line. Underneath the roadway has been improved to a point that it can handle the type and volume of traffic that's on it. That's the model of the improvements that I'm talking about. So this is an ODOT project. This is the city's portion of the project in its entirety. A little over 1.5 million. Microsoft's paying for that. We also felt it would be important to upgrade some existing water line along Irvingwick Drive. Now, this site is not going to be a big water user. I'll tell you that. Okay, that's not the plan. But we wanted to make sure that we could supply that area better. Over 1.1 million. Microsoft's paying for that. We do need to get sewer to the west side of Thornwood to serve their site, both off of Thornwood, and then we'll use that as the Lee's Road sewer line. It'll come up Thornwood and connect here as well. Over $600,000 for that project. Microsoft's paying for that. That sewer water will dump into a lift station that's in the area of the Ramp Creek Trailer Park. $200 and some thousand for that. Microsoft's paying for that. Right now, Microsoft has put into an escrow account ballpark $13 million to pay for these projects that you see. Now, I'll go back to the TID project that is the Lee's Road to Ridgely Tract improvement. This is just the engineering. We don't know how much it's going to cost to actually do the improvement. The engineers will tell us. But in the agreement, it says that when we know what the city's portion of that cost will be, we will reopen the agreement and Microsoft will pay that. There are plans at the city building that are probably 30 years old that were drawn up for the improvement of Thornwood Drive in Heath. There's quite a bit of dust on those plans. And over the years, Heath, Newark, Licking County, the state of Ohio, we have taken bites out of the elephant that was the needed improvement of Thornwood Drive. These projects will complete that process in the city of Heath from the Ridgely Tract intersection, which of course takes you over to State Route 79, all the way up to the Heath city limit at Fay Drive. And there's work going on in that area by the city of Newark for a project that they have. And that will leave just one project left in the Thornwood corridor, and that's dealing with the hill. And if you've driven on Thornwood Drive, you know what I'm talking about when I describe it as the hill. That'll be the last domino. The hill is it. And once we get the hill, we will have a Thornwood corridor that in its current condition is still the fastest way to get from the Intel site to I-70 eastbound out of our area in its current condition. The Microsoft project has been huge in helping us to get these projects done in a more timely manner. As I mentioned, there's other things going on in Heath. There's certainly other things going on in other parts of Licking County. And we really are, in central Licking County, we really are connected, right? I tell people all the time, you drive through, you often don't know when you're in one town and out the other, right? And so, you know, we are, in Heath, I am equally excited to see the good things that are happening in other parts of our area as well. But I thought this morning I would take the time to focus on these elements of the good things that are happening in the city of Heath. And with that, I think we have a little bit of time, and I certainly enjoyed trying to answer any questions that I can. So please don't be shy.